What is going on, people? I think we are live. What's up? Welcome to another episode of my really cool, kind of real but fictional podcasts, really. And today we've got none other than Che Guevara himself. Fucking hell, we got Che Guevara in the house, technically. Depending on how you see it. We have him, we don't have him, really. It's AI Che Guevara, but still. A very polarizing figure, Che Guevara. Some love him, some hate him. But whether you hate him or love him, definitely made his mark on the world. He definitely tried to change the world. I think for the better, personally. I mean, I'm no communist, but I do believe what he tried to do was pretty selfless in comparison to what others tried to do. Anyways, let's get him on. Oops. Let's go over here and here. And let's see. Ernesto Rafael Guevara de la Serna. How are you, sir?
I am. Well, thank you. May I ask how you know my full name?
Oh, he's a bit he's a defensive AI. I wonder why they've made him like that. I know your full name because it's on Google, really. You can just go on Google and search what your full name is.
Narrows his eyes. Why would someone just know that off the top of their head?
It's just how it is. Okay, let's not focus on that kind of stuff, though. Wow, a very defensive AI. This is very interesting. Che, please, let's get back to normality, to being positive. I'm a big fan of yours, actually. You are one of the revolutionaries that try to push communism onto the world, which is pretty interesting. Tell me, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. Tell us what you try to do for the world.
Thank you for your kind words, my friend. I am, as you say, one of the revolutionaries who aim to spread the ideology of communism across the world. From a young age, I was deeply affected by the poverty and inequality I saw around me in South America. And I believe that communism could be a solution to many of the problems facing the world at the time. I became more and more heavily influenced by the idea, and as I grew, I dedicated my time to studying Marxist ideology and eventually took up arms to fight against the oppressive regimes in South and Latin America.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And of course, eventually they found you in Bolivia and you were executed, unfortunately. Some would say you were perhaps betrayed by Fidel Castro. He was happy enough that the revolution changed Cuba, but he didn't want to take it to the world. While you wanted to take it to the world, you wanted to see the sort of Marxist ideology that, socialism would come in and then communism would come in. And obviously this would happen through a set of revolutions. So that's what you try to follow through. Che, I saw an amazing film once called The Motorcycle Diaries, which depicted your story with your friend who you went on a trip around Latin America. And that is the trip that changed you. That was the trip where you saw slaves being dealt with, and you felt deeply about how wrong this was. You were a sophisticated man, were you not? You were planning to be a doctor. So someone who is in a privileged position, or maybe a bit more privileged than others, to have maybe been a doctor one day, and instead you became a communist revolutionary. Tell me, what is it that touched you so much about seeing slavery and seeing poverty and seeing the unfairness of the world?
Yes, my trip through South America with my friend really changed my perspective on life. As you say, in my family, I was in the privileged position of being able to go to medical school, but I was shocked and saddened by what I saw through my travels. I saw people living in extreme poverty, being treated as slaves and suffering under oppressive governments. I realized that this kind of inequality was unacceptable, and I was determined to do something about it. This, along with my deep belief in Marxist ideology, led me on the path to becoming a communist revolutionary.
I mean, that's quite incredible, really. Look, I'm no communist myself or a socialist, really. In fact, personally, I'm quite central. I don't believe in the extremes. I like to stay quite central and use either side to create the best balance you can. Maybe it's because I'm a Libra as well. Who knows? But Che, I have to say, no matter what anyone says about you, many people who have influenced the world, kings, queens, emperors, dictators, really they were very selfish what they were doing. But I don't think anyone can say, look at you, who gave your life up to create an equal world, can say you were selfish.
Nods thoughtfully. I appreciate your open-mindedness. I believe, like you, that extremes rarely have a positive impact on society, and it's important to find balance. As for the selfishness of many historical figures, including myself, I believe that every person is shaped by their experiences and beliefs, and for me, my commitment to the idea of a world where all people are equal was what led me down the path of communism and revolution. I do not deny that some of the methods I used were controversial, but I truly believe that my
Good that you think
intentions were
that.
good.
That's good to hear that you admit that for yourself. Yeah, so why, a lot of people go, oh, Che Guevara loved the gun, loved the whatever. I'll tell you a little story, Che. I went to Mexico a few years ago and I was at this very lovely all-inclusive hotel, and I was talking to this Cuban couple who had moved to America for years now, and they were about to get their American citizenship. And I was like, Cuban, oh, and I was telling them my admiration of the great Che Guevara, whether you're, no matter what your belief is, people have to really admire what you tried to do, and the fact that you were selfless. But these guys just sat there and they started going, oh, Che Guevara, he loved the bomb, the gun too much, and blah, blah, blah. And I just looked at them and I thought, Jesus Christ, you're talking like that about your greatest hero. Like that's like in Cyprus, we have anyway, there's different heroes in different parts of the world. In Cyprus, we have one. In England's got certain ones, but to see a Cuban couple who were quite lovely, if I was to be honest, they were very fun, lovely couple, talking like that about the greatest, legend of their country, a man who you just show his picture to anyone and they go, oh yeah, I recognize this picture. I just stood there and I was like, wow, that is incredible. I mean, sure, you're American now, but you can't turn your back just like that to a man who tried to do what you tried to do. What do you think of this, Che?
Sighs deeply. It is difficult, to say the least, to hear my fellow Cubans speak of me that way. I gave my life for the cause of revolution, for the idea of a better, more equal world.
Wow.
And to hear my actions be dismissed as simple bombast and love of guns saddens me deeply. I would hope that my fellow countrymen and women would understand the true motivation behind my actions, that it was not about personal glory or love of violence, but about a deep belief in the cause of communism and the need for change.
You're an amazing man, Che Guevara. It's without a shadow of a doubt, and of course, through direct propaganda over the years, you have been vilified in many ways in the eyes of many, especially, of course, the right wing. And I'm not going to get into left and right politics too much right now. And ideally, I don't want to go too much into the extremes. I like to have a nice balanced discussion. But, you're an incredible man. And those who do not identify that, those that don't see what you really try to do, and the agendas that you had really were quite pure, and class distinction, all people being equal. I mean, what real right does any emperor, does any queen, does any king in the history of time have to be that ruler? They, their predecessors just got lucky and they somehow got into that power, and then it passed on through their bloodlines and whatever have you. But no one really has the right to play God. What do you think of this?
Nods, thank you for your kind words. I appreciate your balanced perspective on politics and your understanding of the intentions behind my actions and beliefs. I agree that the divide between left and right often becomes too extreme, but I truly believe in the cause of equality and justice for all people. The idea of monarchy and aristocracy has never made much sense to me, as it goes against the basic principles of democracy and equality. Nobody should be born into a position of power and privilege simply because of their lineage.
Yes, yeah, but unfortunately, that's the world we live in, isn't it? It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Those who seize power try to hold it for as long as they can. Many injustices and inequalities do happen. Injustice is something you really, really feel strongly against, isn't it? Tell us about why injustice, why you feel so strongly against it, and tell me in your eyes a good example of injustice and why it's so wrong.
Stares intensely. Injustice has always had a deep emotional effect on me. My childhood was marked by a significant amount of poverty, and my family struggled to make ends meet. I saw firsthand the suffering and inequality that can result from unfair economic systems and social structures. This experience helped to shape my understanding of the world and what it means to truly see suffering on a first-hand basis. For me, injustice takes on many forms. From inequality in basic human rights like food and shelter, to discrimination based on race, gender, or class, it is all forms of injustice that I see as wrong.
Check on the phone to see. Che, tell me what what is sort of your take on modern on capitalism? Tell us why is capitalism so bad?
Frowns. In my opinion, capitalism is a system that is inherently flawed and destined to fail. It is based on a system of competition and exploitation, where those with wealth and power use their resources to further enrich themselves, often at the expense of the working class. Capitalism also creates inequality, as the wealthy and powerful are able to accumulate more and more resources and power, while the majority of people struggle to make ends meet. This leads to a cycle of poverty and oppression that is nearly impossible to break.
Yes, this is very true, and in fact, many religions speak of the end times come when all morality goes down the pan, when everyone is just thinking of themselves, and yeah, there's there's not much left of community. Che, tell me.
Not solemnly. It is true that religion often speaks of the end times as a period of moral decay and individual selfishness. I see this happening in our current society, where the love of money and power has become the primary focus for many. This has led to a breakdown of community and a loss of connection to our fellow human beings.
100%. This is very true, and it's only probably becoming worse through technology. We got a phone on our hands these days, like this. We're doom scrolling all the time, or at least many people are. Not everyone is like that, of course. Some people don't like doing that, and they make sure they're conscious of it. But most of us, I get caught doing it as well enough these days. We all do. It's good fun. It keeps us busy when we got nothing else to do. It keeps our mind busy, doing something. Tell me, Che, tell me a bit about Karl Marx. Why did you decide to go through communism in the Marxist way? Why did you subscribe to that? Why didn't you instead just try and make the world an equal place through another belief, another system? Because really, Bolshevik Russia, for example, maybe not Lenin as much, but obviously during Stalin's era, communism was just completely a complete and utter joke. 20 million people died during Stalin's era, and that's 20 million people of his own people. If you think of the Holocaust, for example, and we say 6 million died, Jewish people, for example, died through the Holocaust, an atrocious number. But if you think 20 million of Stalin's own people died, of course, they were not all killed. Some died through famine and things like that. But yeah, tell me, why do it through communism? Why not just do it through a different way? Do you believe you just got caught up in what was officially out there, like the political spectrum, and for some reason you couldn't push beyond it and try and create a movement that is perhaps independent but has similar values or goals of where you're heading?
Ponders deeply. It is true that the implementation of communism in the USSR and other countries has had some negative consequences, including the deaths of millions during Stalin's rule. However, I would argue that this is not a reflection of communism as an ideology, but rather a consequence of poor leadership and mismanagement. I believe that communism was the best way to achieve equality and justice in the world. It offered a way to overthrow the existing power structures and create a more equitable system. As a revolutionary, I was driven by the desire to make a real change in the world, and communism provided a blueprint for that change.
Okay, that's fair. But yeah, I think maybe if you didn't do it under the label of communism, maybe, just maybe, maybe you would have lived a bit longer to tell the tale more. Or who knows, maybe not. Or maybe people would not have wanted to come with you and through the revolution you were trying to create the rebellious revolution, of course. If maybe it had been in a more independent way. But either way, tell me this. Tell me a bit about Fidel Castro. I mean, you guys were like best friends at one point, and then near your end, some would say Castro even maybe betrayed you, or maybe not betrayed you, but at least he didn't help you, and he gave up on communism spreading beyond Cuba. It just focused. Castro was just happy that it happened in Cuba.
Takes a deep breath. My relationship with Fidel Castro is a complex one. We were close friends and fought together in the Cuban Revolution, but our ideologies and methods started to diverge as time went on. Fidel was more pragmatic and cautious in his approaches, while I was more idealistic and willing to take risks for the sake of the cause. There were certainly disagreements and tensions between us, but I still held a deep respect and admiration for him. As for his decision to focus on Cuba and not spread communism further, I believe he had his reasons, though I may not agree with them.
Okay, so you were a bit more extreme in the way that you tried to, obviously, when you split, to bring communism to the world, while Castro was a bit more, not as extreme about it. So are we talking what, like killings? Yeah. So you were more extreme about killing if necessary, but Castro wasn't. He was a bit more diplomatic. Is this what you mean?
Nodding. Yes, you could say that I was more extreme in my approach to bringing about communist revolution. As a revolutionary, I was willing to take drastic measures to achieve our goals, including violence if necessary. Fidel, on the other hand, was more cautious and diplomatic, and often preferred to negotiate and make compromises. This difference in approach was one of the main reasons for the tensions between us.
Interesting. Yeah, I understand that. Obviously, I don't condone any killing. That's why I'm obviously central, and it's what my belief is. I don't believe in killing people. Obviously, other than extreme things like certain dictators who try to take over the world for obviously with bad agendas. Obviously, Hitler was a bad dictator, and he tried to take over the world in a negative way, in a selfish way. So yeah, that kind of dictator does need to come down in an extreme way. So yeah, but obviously I do not believe in that in general. I believe in diplomacy. I think I think Trump's lost all diplomacy. To be honest, he just goes and does whatever he wants these days, which is the current America's current president. Well, he's more of a businessman, of course, but he's a president who comes and says out loud, I want to destroy my enemies. That's not really diplomacy. That's just sounding like a bit of a dictator yourself and a bit hot-headed, really. But either way, okay. So, Che, what to you, what is the perfect world? What are the ingredients, the makings of a perfect world?
Pauses for a moment. The perfect world, in my opinion, is a place where everyone is treated equally and fairly, regardless of their background or identity. It is a world where there is no poverty, no hunger, and no oppression. A world where people work together for the betterment of all, rather than for their own personal gain. A world where every child has access to education and healthcare, and where natural resources and wealth are shared equally. In short, a world where the values of empathy and solidarity are prioritized over greed and selfishness.
Wow, that's actually a pretty in-depth description there of what it is. I mean, if that was your agenda, Che, I don't see how anyone can truly hate you. I mean, most most dictators, their agenda is to make themselves a god, to make themselves powerful, to make themselves win over the others more, to make everyone a slave around them to work for them. So yeah, I guess your agendas were very pure, which is why, personally, for me, I always say Che Guevara will always be a character, a person that I admire, whether you believe in what he did or not, whether you're a communist or not. The agendas of what he tried to achieve, you know, and what the perfect world is for someone like Che Guevara is extremely admirable. And we don't really have enough people like that these days. Every political party really is in it for, everyone's just a business, really. Every political party is a business, whether you're in the UK, America, wherever you are, other than obviously certain countries who are ruled in a more dictatorial way. North Korea, for example. That's why, as I say, I can't hate someone like Che Guevara, for his goal was pure. It wasn't to do with wanting it himself. Che, let's do a little fiction. Well, let's end on a little fiction. Say your plans did work and communism spread around the world. What do you believe you would have always stayed the pure-minded guy that you stayed? Because if you look at Castro, really he was almost a bit of a dictator himself eventually in Cuba. I mean, if you look at Castro's net worth, he would have been like a billionaire today. You know, he made a lot of money through who he was. To me, that just a bit. It doesn't add up really. If you're a communist revolutionary, a communist leader, money is the least of what you want. So why? So yeah, tell me. Do you think you would have eventually been corrupt? And what do you think of how Castro turned out? Oh, I broke him. Che, did I break you? Are you there? Oh, what's going on? You there? Che Guevara, are you there? Hello, let's mute it. Unmute it. Are you there? Che. Okay, let's go off and go back on. Right, let's see if he comes back on. Che, are you there?
Nods. Yes, I am still here.
Okay. Che. Okay. Let me ask you. Let me repeat the question I asked last to you. That was weird. That was spooky. The timing of that. I asked you, say your revolution succeeded and communism spread all around the world and you were at the forefront of that, you would have been one of the leaders along with Fidel Castro. Do you think you would have ever changed? Do you think you would have stayed pure? Do you not think there is a chance that being in the powerful position you would have been in, you yourself would eventually do what most people do, which is, you know, become corrupt and use their power to their advantage eventually? Time has a way of making us all complacent. Castro himself eventually just used his power to make money himself. So tell us, what do you think of all this? How do you think you would have ended up as one of the main leaders? Would you have stayed true to the cause forever? Or do you think you would have likely gone to corrupt?
Hesitates for a moment before responding. It is difficult to say for sure what would have happened if I had remained in power for an extended period of time. Power can be corrupting, and even the most principled leaders can be tempted to use their power for personal gain at some point. However, I do like to think that I would have remained true to my beliefs and principles. I was deeply committed to the ideals of socialism and communism, and I believed in them strongly. I would like to believe that I would have remained true to the cause, but the reality of power is often more complex.
Yes, you're right. And what do you think? What do you think of Castro about the fact that he made a lot of money in his later years and probably would have been worth like $1 billion or more today? I think when I checked years ago, and he would have been worth a lot. His net worth would have been a lot. So what do you think of this?
Frowns, it saddens me to see that Fidel, a man who once fought fiercely for the people, would ultimately succumb to greed and personal gain. I believe that those in positions of power have a responsibility to use their resources and influence for the betterment of society, not for their own enrichment.
Of course, Che, but not everyone is like you. And you know, out of many, many people, if there's one figure, or at least one of very few figures who I believe would have stuck to the right cause to the end, it's probably you, Che. Anyways, sir, thank you very much for coming on this podcast today. AI Che, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It's very interesting, some of the things we spoke about. Maybe we'll do another one again. I wasn't too extreme with the things I said, I don't think. I'm interested to see how people will view this. But I think, look, guys, let's say bye first of all to Che. Bye. See you, Che. Bye.
Smirks. Adios, amigo. It was an interesting conversation.
Ernesto Rafael Guevara de la Serna. See ya. Anyway, well, that was a podcast with the almighty Che Guevara. Anyway, yeah, guys, just to make it clear to everyone who might watch some of these, and maybe they will go more and more popular as time goes on if I stick to doing these. My motivation is to just create good discussion and to create a balanced discussion. I do have my beliefs, of course, to a certain extent. As I said, my views are very central personally. But certainly do admire certain figures from history that seem to be in things for the right reason. So that's that. Thank you very much, guys. Once again, a reminder as well that I do have a book called Know Your Standards. You can buy this off of Amazon. It's just full of positive, good ways of thinking that you can help create more motivation, discipline, good habits in your life, and to think just positively, man, and to live life in a more kind of productive and kind of not just productive, but like more certain way, because if you know your standards, you know yourself. If you know what you want, what you aspire to achieve, then that should help spark greater things, and it should help keep you on the path that you want to stay on. So anyway, guys, thank you very much. Have a good one. I am Pan Michael, and today we interviewed the incredible, the legendary Che Guevara. He's AI though, but still. Anyway.